Hi everybody, it's that time again. It's time for Story Time with Nonna. I'm Nonna and I've got a really kind of different story. It's a really old story. It's called, it's the Tales of King Arthur series, but it's called Excalibur by Hudson Talbott. I think you'll enjoy it. It's got some really cool illustrations. These are all the shields of the knights. Let's see. I thought these were really cool. It's a dragon, and I think that's the griffin. Britain was still a young nation when a Welsh country lad named Arthur became its High King, or Pendragon. He had proved his birthright by pulling the Pendragon sword out of a stone when no one else could. But Arthur also wanted to prove himself worthy of leading his countrymen and used the sword to rally them against their common foe, the Saxons. By the time they had driven the invaders from the shores, the Britons were united behind their brave new leader, and young Arthur's fame soon spread throughout the world. The finest knights had come forth to join Arthur in his campaign against the Saxons, and they rejoiced in their victory together. But with peace returning, each knight soon felt the urge to find his own path again, and one by one they excused themselves from Arthur's company. "I hear there's a giant causing trouble down in Cornwall," said Sir Ulfius as he waved farewell. "A dragon has been seen in Loch Ness again," said Sir Sagamore. "I'll take care of it this time." "I'll ride along with you to Glastonbury," said Sir Lionel. "There's a damsel held in a tower by a local witch." By the time Arthur reached his castle at Caerleon, he was left only with his only advisor, Merlin, and a handful of older knights who amused themselves with boasts of their own youthful adventures. Day after day, Arthur heard tales of others' glory, and soon his pride in his own achievements gave way to envy. "I need a quest," he complained to Merlin. "A knight has more fun than a king." "Each of us has a unique destiny, sire," said Merlin. "There's much more to be gained by understanding your role in life, and much to be lost by ignoring it." Their attention was suddenly drawn to young Sir Griflet, who was returning badly wounded from his first quest. He had lost a joust with a knight who had blocked a bridge and dared any of Arthur's men to cross it. "That knight is challenging me, of course," thought Arthur. "You are not free to endanger yourself the way you knights do, your majesty," said Merlin abruptly. "Merlin," boomed Arthur, "have I no privacy? Do you read all my thoughts?" "Just enough to worry me, sire," replied the wizard. "That hostile knight is King Pellinore, one of the fiercest warriors in all of Britain. He is still angry for not being chosen High King himself, and would certainly kill you now. But if you leave him alone, he will soon come around and someday make a fine ally." Arthur nodded blandly, but early the next morning he quietly saddled his horse and slipped out of the palace alone. After riding for hours through field and forest, Arthur dismounted at a spring, where he lay down to rest. But he was soon startled by another thirsty visitor. Drinking from the fountain was the legendary creature known as the questing beast. Arthur stood transfixed until someone in the forest called to him, "I say there, lad, did an odd-looking beast pass your way?" "Why, yes, it's right here," Arthur called back. But when he turned around, the beast was gone. The stranger quickly made his way toward Arthur. "Perhaps I should take on your quest," Arthur said. "After all, you're on foot, and I have a—" "That's a good lad. Help me up," said the knight, climbing onto Arthur's horse. "Excuse me, but that's my horse, and it's my quest," retorted the knight as he rode away. "If you wish to make it yours, you may find me tomorrow at the old Roman bridge." "What? Come back here," yelled Arthur, running after him. "Let him go," murmured a voice from the woods. "You have more important things to do. Pellinore does not." "Pellinore," said Arthur, looking around. "That rogue stole my horse." "You're fortunate that's all he took," said Merlin, stepping from the shadows. "A king's duty is to his people, not to his pride." But Merlin had barely spoken the words when Arthur turned sharply and stormed away. The next morning, Arthur found his way to the bridge and pounded loudly on his shield as a signal for jousting. The curtains of the nearby tent slowly parted, and there stood the ominous figure of King Pellinore. "Oh, it's you, lad," he said, smirking. "Well, I shall let you go this time because of the foolishness of your youth, but I must have your shield as the price for disturbing my slumber." "Sir Knight, you have insulted me," countered Arthur fiercely. "Make ready for combat." "As you wish, boy, but your coat of arms shall enter my collection in any case," said the nobleman, gesturing toward a tree hung with battered shields. Pellinore mounted his horse, trotted a short distance, and then wheeled around to face Arthur. The two kings leveled their spears, readied their shields, and then spurred their chargers into a thunderous gallop toward each other. Arthur's spear shattered on impact, but Pellinore's blow sent Arthur flying. The young king barely escaped the crush of his own horse as they both tumbled to the ground. Pellinore turned and dismounted. "I'll take no advantage over you, lad," he said with a grin. "I'll beat you fairly on the ground." The two warriors drew their swords and lunged at each other. Arthur's speed and agility were easily matched by the sheer power of the mighty Pellinore. For hours they slashed and jabbed at each other, till both were staggering and drenched in blood. Finally, sensing his moment, Pellinore brought his sword down with all his remaining strength. Arthur raised his sword instinctively, but this time it broke under Pellinore's devastating blow. The legendary Pendragon sword fell to the ground in pieces, leaving Arthur defenseless. Wow, we'll have to wait till next time on Storytime with Nonna and see what happens to Arthur now that he doesn't have a sword. He's in big trouble, isn't he? So tune in next time and join me for the exciting conclusion of Excalibur. I hope you have a wonderful day. It was great reading with you, and I hope you enjoyed the story. We'll get the end of it next time. Bye.